Hi, I'm Angela. This video is entitled Shame of Not Being Lovable. And I'm sharing this topic in regards specifically to poor sense of self or your body. So I think maybe women might relate to this more, but a lot of men are now discovering this too, especially about their sense of identity as either macho enough or not macho enough or kind of manly enough. Because being a man these days is also being thrown up, so that will affect your body image or your feeling about being attractive enough and ultimately lovable just the way you are. Shame of not being lovable is perhaps one of the most physical processes I've witnessed and experienced intimately my life, most of my life, until I can remember, where I felt very deeply ashamed about my appearance, attractiveness, and efficacy. I can't even say the word properly. How good was I at doing something? Could be speaking in public, it could be making a video, it could be making love. So I've shared in other videos how I had deep insecurity about when I was making love, whether it was actually working. Was it doing anything for the person? Was it good enough? Was I doing the right thing? And I think that general self-criticism is something that is programmed deeply into our bodies with no words. It comes deep through our intimate interactions with others, not just from our early childhood relationships, but when you start to develop that sense of self with other people. So from 7 to 14, when you start to do things at school or in social groups with the opposite gender or with the same gender, when you start to do things as a teenager from 14 to 21, again, there's a huge difference in how you might actually start to program whether you're doing it good enough, whatever it is. When it comes to intimacy, what happens is that ability to just connect, to have a hug and receive the hug, to have a touch and receive the touch. There's another layer of the mind that comes in there, rather than just being an animal where we respond to touch. If you look at a dog or a cat, they pretty much respond to touch unless they've had some traumatic event with a human, animal, or other animals. So if you've ever had a feral cat, you know that they've been raised in an environment where they're about survival. And what happens with humans is that we may not be raised in such an obvious environment of survival, but with our social world being a lot more about survival of the X enough, beautiful enough, young enough, smart enough, tech enough, whatever enough, popular enough, you may actually start to feel that layer of survival being threatened. I won't be accepted for who I am. And it operates in many, many levels. And in terms of shame of not being lovable, let's look at how it actually stops the ability to be love. So if you've got this layer, like a feral cat may have, that skirtishness and avoidance behavior of contact with other cats or other species. If you're going to be in a relationship and that shame is imprinted on your body, what happens? Intuitively, you're going to avoid contact that exposes you to where you feel vulnerable or unsafe, or potentially you're going to be judged. And as a result, you may create a lot of beliefs about your body or about potential intimate contact and touch, or about a relationship and lasting in that relationship or starting that relationship. So shame of not being lovable often short-circuits a lot of people in the dating phase. They might look at a lot of profiles, they might go on some dates, but then they'll do something to sort of say, nah, I don't like this person for that reason, I don't feel that this is right for me. Relationships aren't for me might be a classic thing you hear. And then after that, if they actually do get into the relationship, there'll be another opportunity to see that unspoken shame of not being lovable come up. And then further down the road in the relationship, if you've survived the relationship to a certain length of time where you've made a major commitment, the challenge can resurface. So even when you've got to levels of safety with your partner, there will always be more layers where you get to really look and examine where there may be shame of not being lovable. And I can also share from my journey that my partners have been my greatest teachers towards allowing me to liberate that shame. So it wasn't an easy process that happened spontaneously, but what happened was through their gentleness, they were able to just reflect back to me my insecurities, not by verbalizing it to me, but allowing me to see areas where I may not have felt like sharing my body with them. I may not have felt like verbalizing my feelings with them. And I also then maybe had translated that into certain beliefs like, I don't trust you. I don't feel safe with you. I don't believe that you want to be in a relationship with me. So a lot of our body, emotion, and then beliefs are layers that all work towards hiding some deeper belief about being unlovable. And to counter it, what I would invite you to do is to look at your partners or potential dating prospects, if you're not in a relationship, as an opportunity to see where you're not able to feel comfortable with your body and you're not able to verbalize your feelings or feel safe about your feelings, and you might have some judgments about them. So those are those areas trying to show you where you might be making yourself that unlovable feeling or making that belief that you are unlovable. And that's the first step to changing the belief.